guys, it is box office prediction time. So I kicked off the new year going 3 for 5, but I kind of have no problem with that because what messed up my predictions last weekend was Insidious: The Last Key exceeding expectations. And if you watched last week's box office prediction video, you know I liked that movie more than I expected to, so I'm happy it made a lot of money. But before we get to that, let's touch on what was number one last weekend, and that, of course, was Jumanji, which is just a powerhouse right now, taking in another $36 million. Then at number two, it was Insidious: The Last Key with $29.1 million. Star Wars: The Last Jedi actually fell to number three with $23.6 million. Then it was The Greatest Showman at number four with $13.8 million. And Pitch Perfect 3 coming in at number five with $10.2 million. So again, we've got a holiday weekend ahead of us, so I need to remind you that my predictions are going to be for the 3-day weekend, not the 4-day weekend. Jumping into it now, though, we have a handful of new wide releases hitting theaters this weekend, but I think 2 of them are going to get knocked out of the top 5, and it's probably going to be The Commuter, the latest collaboration between Liam Neeson and Jaime Collet-Serra, because I got my eye on Run All Night for that one. I think it's going to wind up with a similar amount. And then also there's Proud Mary, and I don't think that they've promoted that movie as much as they probably should have, so I think that might fall off the top 5 as well. But moving into my top 5 now, at number 5, I have The Last Jedi. So with this one, all I can really do is keep looking at the Force Awakens percent change and sticking with that trend. So The Force Awakens wound up losing 38% of its weekend 3 earnings in weekend 4. I actually think I'm going to cut Last Jedi's weekend 3 earnings in half, though, given how steep the decline has been. And if that winds up happening to it, it's going to take number 5 with about $12.5 million. Moving on to my number 4, that's where I have Insidious: The Last Key. So this one might be a little tougher to predict just because it had such a big opening weekend, and also there's not really any horror competition right now, but I can't ignore the fact that, one, horror movies do traditionally have a very steep weekend 1 to 2 drop, and on top of that, the movie does have a B- on Cinema Score, and that might hint at it basically not being able to avoid that steep drop. So looking at Insidious 2's weekend 1 to 2 drop, that was 65%. Given the fact that this is a holiday weekend, I'm going to lower that 65% to just 55%, and that would give this movie another $13 million, which should be good enough for number 4. Moving on to number 3, that's where I have The Post. So this weekend, The Post's release climbs to 2,800 theaters. So more theaters. It's got Steven Spielberg's name attached, Tom Hanks and Meryl Streep headlining it, and on top of that, there's award season buzz right now, so it should be in pretty good shape. But it's not going to be in as good shape as Hidden Figures was last year, because I do think that Hidden Figures had a little more momentum this same time last year. But looking at that one, when Hidden Figures hit 2,400 theaters, it took $22 million that weekend. So yes, that is a lower theater count than what The Post is getting, but considering the fact that I also think there's more hype around Hidden Figures, I'm going to give The Post about $18 million for the 3-day weekend this weekend, and the number 3 spot on my top 5. Moving on to number 2 now, that's where I'm putting Paddington 2. So when the first Paddington movie opened in the United States back in 2015, it took $19 million its opening weekend. Cut to today, the Paddington sequel is just as good, if not better for some, than the first movie. And on top of that, I think the Paddington buzz has kind of caught on. So I think I'm going to have Paddington 2 top the opening of the first film with about $20 million of its own, putting it right there at number 2. Now that means, yet again, at number 1, it's Jumanji. So clearly, Jumanji: Welcome to the Jungle is just crushing it right now. I'm going to stick with that Night at the Museum comparison. So this same weekend, back in 2007, that movie dropped 28% weekend 4. So Jumanji clearly has a lot more to lose than that one did. So instead, I'm going to bring that 28% weekend drop up to 35%, and that still gives Jumanji another $24 million for the 3-day weekend. Let's recap my predictions. I've got Jumanji coming in at number 1 with $24 million, Paddington 2 taking the second place position with $20 million, The Post coming in at number 3 with $18 million, Insidious: The Last Key taking number 4 with $13 million, and then Star Wars: The Last Jedi rounding out the top 5 with $12.5 million for the 3-day weekend. So those are my predictions, but now you guys know what I like you to do. Hit that comment section below, share your thoughts. What are these movies going to make for the 3-day weekend? Do you want to give me your full 4-day holiday weekend predictions? Do that too. Thank you guys so much for watching. I also have to give an extra special Patreon shout out to 2 guys who have been with the Patreon campaign since day 1. It is Scuba Steve and Jason Phillips. Scuba Steve, Jason, you guys know how much I think you rock. I can't believe you've been with me from the start. It really does mean the world to me that you are sticking with the campaign and continuing to support me as I do what I love, talk about movies, box office TV, all this fun stuff. Thank you to everybody who's watching out there. Please like and share, and I will see you soon with more movie reviews, box office predictions, and Nemo vlogs, you name it.